Welcome to this session on the future of work and the evolving role of digital CIO perspectives. It is very important that we look at how CIO navigated the technology organization during the pandemic. We are all aware of how we changed our work practically overnight in March 2020. We were zooming in, we were doing everything online, but today is a chance to understand how the technology side supported us and how they changed their practices during the last 18 months, from IT help desk to Zoom support to projects to new acceleration in digital that was coming in due to the pandemic from the business side of the house. Today, our panelists are Jean-Michel Badon, Chief Information Officer and General Manager of the Department of Information Technology at the Inter-American Development Bank, and Shireen Hamid, our own Director General and CIO Information Technology Department here at ADB. To kick off this panel, I'll ask each of the panelists to tell us a bit about themselves and their approach to digital technology in their organization.
Hi, I'm Jean-Michel Baudouin. I'm the Chief Information Officer and General Manager of the IT department at the Inter-American Development Bank. I've been working my entire professional life in information technology and digital transformation. I've been working for IT consulting companies, mainly in Europe, for manufacturing companies, also in Europe and in the United States, and now as an international public servant for the bank. The bank is headquarters here in Washington, D.C. We have 26 countries, 26 offices in Latin America and Caribbean countries. And our mission at the bank is very simple. We are here to improve life of people in Latin America and the Caribbean.
Thank you, Jean-Michel, and now Shireen.
My name is Shireen Hamid. I'm the Director General and the Chief Information Officer for the Asian Development Bank. Prior to this, I've had a significant amount of experience with the UN and international organization, UNDP, for about 11 years. So you can see how passionate I am with respect to development and the opportunity to actually make an impact and difference. I came from private sector world, so I've seen, both sides from private to public sector and international organization and how we've taken digital transformation and make an impact to the lives of individuals. So I would say that with ADB, it's been a privilege to be able to actually drive digital transformation. I started 6 years ago in 2016, where the then President Nakao, was extremely excited about the opportunity to modernize the bank. And we worked collectively as one, using design thinking methodology to actually focus on 14 different programs under a program called the Real-Time ADB IT Reforms. That was foundational, but extremely instrumental because it established the need for the bank to be resilient and to be able to work anywhere, anytime, any place. And in that perspective, what we had done was to ensure that we had a very robust backbone. And when we call that our foundation, we looked at not only connectivity, cybersecurity, we also looked at user devices and the collaboration platforms. And on top of it, ensure that we have end-to-end systems for our core organization. We didn't do all because we had to prioritize, but I'm happy to share that we successfully delivered, year on year, to the point that the interest to actually drive transformation using digital increased. And so in 2018, in concert with the strategy 2030 that was approved by the board, we had Digital Agenda 2030 Stage 1. It's a robust program because, again, out of 16 what we call executive business cases, we derived 6 different programs to ensure that the bank could continue to actually operate and grow and modernize its systems processes. And I think in that process also the maturity of the adoption of technology with people. And I'm really, really very excited because with the real-time ADB IT reforms, we were successful in terms of ensuring that the bank could operate remotely during the pandemic from day one. That was very, very instrumental in terms of the success of the bank operating last year and into this year. And part of that digital transformation journey in one of the six programs is to establish what we call the Digital Innovation Sandbox program. And we can talk a little bit more about that because that is critical in terms of the model that I've arrived at. We need to use a Thrive model approach. And what do I mean by a tri model approach? A is to make sure that we continue to run our IT systems, and support the bank. Second is to grow the organization, ensuring that we deliver on the mandate and modernize the platforms and drive that efficiency. But the third one, with the digital innovation sandbox, it's about driving efficiency. It's about experimenting. Sorry, it's about experimenting in a safe place to ensure that we could test different technologies. Future proofing the bank is really, very key and important.
Thank you for that. So now we move over to pandemic, and we would like to understand your key lessons learned from IT perspective during this turbulent times. Maybe we'll start off with Shireen first, and then over to Yamashal.
I would say four areas. One, always be prepared. When you build a digital strategy, ensure that you have a very strong foundation. And I think the real time ADB IT reforms that we established in 2016 established the foundation for us to be prepared and continue operations amidst the pandemic. So that's one. Second is about matching demand. I think what was during the pandemic itself, what we realized was there was a heightened demand for digital products, for more digital transformation, for more experimentation. And I think from an IT perspective, IT has to match that demand. We were very lucky when we implemented the digital agenda. We had actually established a mantra: extreme teamwork. We broke down barriers. It's no longer by division, it's no longer by department, but we work as one to deliver on those mandates. And we had to reprioritize to ensure that obviously we look into the urgent matters. We were also very, very innovative. And as an example, in terms of meeting those heightened demands, was to establish the distribution hubs. Access to equipment was restricted during the lockdowns, and the team was extremely creative. And I think at one point we had 15 distribution hubs to ensure that we could enable the bank to work anytime, anywhere, and have the necessary equipment to do so, including how we onboard and offboard staff who are, hired and when they have to exit remotely. The third is to understand the momentum of the change, and the momentum of the change is recognizing that there was a need to do innovation as usual. What do I mean by this? And I think some of you will remember very fondly when we started the change journey in the digital transformation under the real-time ADB IT reforms. That took a little bit longer because people were skeptical. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? We failed before. I'm not sure whether I'm going to get the benefit of this. But instead, when we were in the pandemic and everybody was just surviving and ensuring that we could actually, be resilient, any technology that we had implemented, whether it's Zoom, for example, or the digital signatures, it was embraced immediately. Change management was just overnight. In fact, training went, exponential, so that it goes back to people. And when I say people, which is probably the fourth part of this whole entire lessons learned, it's about people. You have to care about your people, making sure that they're number one in terms of ensuring that they thrive. So not only survive but thrive during the pandemic. And I can tell you from an ITD perspective what we do as a department on a separate front. But on the second piece is to ensure that we have management support. Management support is extremely critical to ensure that, we have the mandate to actually deliver on all these objectives, including being very creative on how we actually enable the bank. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen, and now Jean-Michel.
So the key lessons learned during the pandemic from an IT perspective is clearly, I mean, when the whole pandemic started and we had to send people home from one day to the other, the immediate reaction was like, wow, thanks God we were ready, you know. We were ready from an IT standpoint. Sending people, you know, in a matter of 48 hours everywhere, we need to make sure that, you know, the IT infrastructure and the tools are in place to maintain a good business continuity and to maintain a good interaction between the people. We know that IT for decades and for years have been crucial for a lot of, you know, business process that we run in any type of organizations. But for the pandemic, it has been a different story because suddenly we realized that we needed, you know, digital technology to do very simple things like, you know, meeting, like talking, like sharing, like collaborating. So the fact that, you know, we were ready was extremely, extremely important for us. You know, if you step back 18 months ago, you know, just imagine the start of the pandemic and you don't have Microsoft Teams in place or Google Meet or Zoom or any type of these technologies, you know, it would have been a very, very different experience for us and for everybody. So the lessons learned is that, you know, we always need to be prepared from an IT standpoint. And the reason that we were prepared at the bank is because we have a very strong management team that, you know, 4 years ago in 2016 actually decided to define a new IT strategy. And this IT strategy, without knowing it, you know, just put us exactly on the right track to be ready in March 2020 when the pandemic struck us. We decided at this time to start moving everything to the cloud. We decided at this time that, you know, we need to invest on people-to-people connectivity. Decided at this time that we need to invest on data analytics. We decided at this time that we need to improve on, you know, reinforce our innovation capabilities. So, you know, just to, again, if I look back and if I think about one lessons learned is that IT, digital are today a key component of any type of strategy of any organization, especially at the bank. So as a strategic enabler of everything in the bank, we need to make sure that we continuously invest in technology, that we keep it up because it's very, very difficult to keep up with technology. The pace is very, very strong and very, very fast. But we need to invest and we need to continue to do what we have been doing is basically being ready for, you know, when the unpredictable happens.
Thank you, Michelle. It's very interesting to notice that at the Inter-American Development Bank that you were prepared, and that's a very similar theme to Shireen at ADB, that it was the preparation that got us through the pandemic. As we move forward to the new normal, how do you see the evolving role of digital as the future of work evolves? Yeah. How do we get ready for an environment where change is the constant? Yeah.
As we move to a new normal, I see the role of digital and IT evolving. But before talking about that, I think it's important now that we talk about the mission of the bank. And the reason that we need to link the two is because IT and digital, we are strategic enabler of these organizations. The mission of the bank is very, very simple. It's to improve life in Latin American and the Caribbeans. And unfortunately, you know that this region is going through probably the worst crisis in decades in terms of socioeconomics. So the role of the bank is very important and is very, very committed today to really improve lives in Latin America in a sustainable way. And all of this is written in a very important document which is called Vision 2025. This Vision 2025 is a commitment from the bank to help the region. And in this Vision 2025, there is a key component that is digital transformation. Digital transformation would be here to actually help enabling the Vision 2025. So coming back to the role of IT and digital in this new normal, I see three things that are very, very important. First thing is not, you know, really changing, but we have to continue what we have been doing in the past 18 months, which is basically continue to support our employees, continue to make sure that, you know, we maintain business continuity, continue to make sure that our operation are running smoothly in the region. That's critical and that's very important. At the same time, you know, we need to make sure that we are returning to the office in a safe way. Safety is, of course, the number one priority for the bank. So in that context, we need to continue, and of course, we need to help with return to office technology like contact tracing and some other technology. The second thing that is very important in the new role of IT, if I can say new role, is the fact that, of course, digital transformation is going to happen. It's a key enabler for the Vision 2025. So, of course, IT will play a key role in this digital transformation. That's very important. The third thing that I see as well is because in the nature of the operations that we are doing in the region, there is more and more digital component into it and more innovation component into it. And because in IT, digital and innovation is something that we have inside our DNA almost, we need to capitalize the knowledge and the experience and the skills that we have in the IT department to make our operations run smoothly in the region. So those are the three, I guess, key elements of the role of IT in the new normal.
Um, I think it's critical. I think there's no, everybody's trying to understand what this new normal is, whether it's hybrid, whether it's back to the office, whether it's to understand the persistence and the evolution of the variant of the pandemic. So it's a lot of uncertainty, including travel and so on. So here, just as at the onset of pandemic, where the bank had to actually leverage on technology to actually be able to operate and successfully, and we overperformed last year. And when I say overperform, not only from an IT perspective, I'm talking about operations as a whole in the bank. Collectively, we were, delivering on the mission of the bank. So digital is going to be critical and core in terms of enabling the organization to not only ensure the resiliency, but also optimize on the efficiency and the effectiveness. So from an IT perspective, the demand is huge. In fact, demand is more than the existing supply. So from our side is one, it is about prioritizing demand. I think it's critical that we focus on what will drive the greatest value to the bank as an impact to the bank and especially to our DMCs and the mission of the bank, the beneficiaries especially, when we focus on these priorities. I think the second area that we need to focus on is innovation. I talked in the earlier question about innovation as usual. When we established what we call the Digital Innovation Sandbox, it gave the organization the appetite to actually safely and securely test out new technologies, emerging technologies, and then decide, either A, we have not only lessons learned, but the ability to scale the solutions bank wide. So, for example, the robotic process automations, the bots, they were very, very successfully experimented, if I may use the word, or piloted with controller, with treasury, and even with ITD, to the point that I think there's demand for more automation that's coming up. So AI, machine learning, automation, those things are really going to scale. So we are mainstreaming the digital innovation sandbox, and I think it's not that mainstreaming is probably the game changer, right? How do we mainstream this technology so that it becomes the DNA of ADB? So instead of relying on manual processes, it's also having the ability to actually work smarter and using all of the capabilities and technologies that's needed to do so. I think the next thing, if I would say, is also about data. I think having that single trusted version of data is actually very key and important to the bank, because I think with that you have insights. And I think we're in the right trajectory in terms of our data program to actually not only establish what we have in terms of the data definitions, now the data catalog, and then the iterations that we have to ensure that we have that single version of truth. I think this we should scale. And we're not talking about data alone. Data also comes with integrated platforms and systems. And instead of only concentrating on internal, we should also look at external and drive that value proposition as we move forward. So a lot of things that we should consider. And I want to go back to people, because people is actually key in terms of driving the success, I think, the future of the bank too. Thank you.
It seems like as we are racing towards the new normal, change is the only constant. The role of digital is evolving and increasing as we move towards these turbulent times. Lastly, as we wind down, to prepare for the new normal, we have to think about the people side of the house when it comes to digital. If you could spend some time discussing how are you embracing new digital skills as they are required and support the acceptance of new digital in your organizations.
Well, we've been doing a couple of things. I believe on Monday we're going to launch what we call the digital fitness program. We've piloted it in ITD, and I think we're very excited about this Netflix-like learning program that I believe is the starting point in terms of at least the. Let's start with the 101 of digital skills, making sure that we mainstream. I think I talked about it in the earlier question. How do we mainstream and ensure that digital is part of our um, DNA. How do we actually ensure that we have the dig tech capability in the organization? So that's one. So one is to actually provide the tool for the bank to actually operate on. So I'm looking forward to the launch next week, and so I hope all of you will have the benefit of using digital fitness program. Two is ensuring that we do effective change management. I know that from the bank, we've put in a lot of new tech capabilities, and you all have benefited from it in one form or another. But we also take uh, uh, the point of ensuring that we take you into this journey together as one. So, change management is going to be very, very key to ensure that we address any key challenges and how do we move forward collectively in terms of maximizing the investment of the technology that we have in place. Third is about ensuring that we have new ways of working, because not only about the learning platform but and not only about prioritizing change management. What I hope each and every one of you is to be inspired. If I can use technology, and even if you don't know how to use what could be the art of the possibilities in terms of technology. And remember, during the real-time ADB IT reforms days, we used to do executive briefings, and then towards the end, we start, using design thinking. We use vision demonstrators. We use futures workshop. We're going to continue to do that. I think that's essential for us to actually facilitate your journey in terms of embracing digital and technology. I'm really, really proud and excited that digital has made an impact to the bank. But let's not stop there. Let's move forward, because I think this is going to be pervasive for us to actually deliver on Strategy 2030.
So to prepare to the new normal, we have been helping our employees to acquire new digital skills. And I don't want to say that this is new for IT, but we also realize that people are completely overwhelmed with new technology now, and everything is done via digital means. So the whole of IT goes beyond just the simple deployment of technical solutions. So our job is not to deploy Microsoft Teams. Our job is to deploy Microsoft Teams, but make sure that people are using it and are using it properly and in a good way. So we have been investing, of course, in technology and making sure that we deploy everything, but we have been investing a lot as well in terms of communication. Communication is crucial in this type of situation. We have been investing a lot in change management and also a lot in trainings. And I have to say that I've been extremely impressed by the capacity of the people to digest all this new technology. The thing that you see today, the way that people are using Microsoft Teams, the way that people are using chat is absolutely incredible. I'm not going to lie to you, the big sentence that we hear in 2020 and 2021 is still, hey man, you're on mute. Okay, so it's not perfect. But we can really see that people have used the technology a lot, and this is thanks to all the effort that we have been doing around communication, around change management, and around training. Maybe a second thing that we are doing as well that is, I think, very, very important, not necessarily in the way that we are using the tool, but I think in this new normal, and actually even before, it was very, very important that we change the relationship of the people towards the data. Especially at the bank, where data is knowledge, and knowledge is a key competitive advantage for the bank. It's something which is very, very important for us. We really try to make sure that the people understand the value of the data and that they are using in a good way. So of course, again, from an IT standpoint, we try to push a lot an easy access to the data. That's our number one job. but we also try to train the people and explain to people the value of the data and how they can use data and knowledge as a very, very powerful tool for their day-to-day operations.
Very interesting to see two CIOs talk about humans. We've been hearing a lot about digital, but it's the humans that make all that technology work, all that data, all that connectivity. At the end of the day, it is us that run those machines. And now, as we wind down and wrap up, I'll ask each one of you to give us final thoughts.
As we move to the new normal, do I see any risk or any opportunities? Well, one thing that we really find out during these 18 months is the fact that the remote work works. Today, we can see that you can work from anywhere. You can work from your basement, you can work from your living room, you can work from any place in the world. It also brings a lot of flexibility to the workforce, which is very, very important. On the other hand, we also have to be very careful because we see some digital fatigue. People are kind of overwhelmed with all those technologies. We see some digital isolations as well. So we have to pay attention to that. And we also have to pay attention to the return to the office, because by returning to the office, we're probably going to create a bit of a difference between the people who are continuously remote and people who are, living with in-person interactions. So we have to be careful with proximity bias, and we have to be careful of not creating differences between the employees and between the people. I think that digital really saved our life 18 months ago. We just have to make sure that it's not creating problems in the future.
The last 6 years has been an incredible journey with the bank. And for that, I'm truly grateful to actually experience together with the bank how we modernize, how we transform, how we leverage on technology to thrive, especially during COVID. Yes, not survive, but thrive. And it's really, really through the extreme teamwork and collaboration across the bank. Three takeaways: triple invest. Invest in IT for ADB's future. Two, invest in its people. People are at the heart of digital transformation. Take them to the journey. Take them throughout the whole entire journey. Finally, invest in digital innovation and maximize the use of technology. Use partners, co-create, experiment, and experiment safely, or even if you fail, doesn't matter. But learn from it and fail fast, fail quickly, and learn from it. And through all of this, we'll be able to future proof the bank and achieve Strategy 2030. Thank you.
So that concludes our panel discussion for the day. To summarize, we have heard how important IT is and how critical it is that we are ready where change is constant. IT is much more than a cost center. IT has become an essential part of operations. IT today is serious business. Before we close the session, we'll ask you to do a quick poll. It just takes 10 seconds. Thanks in advance. Mark your calendars for Monday 10 a.m. for the launch of the digital fitness program and the Indigo platform. We hope to see everyone there. Thanks again for attending, and that concludes this panel discussion. Thank you.